Hi and welcome to the movie clip tutorial. In this tutorial I'm going to show you how you can use movie clips to help simplify your animations. In this example I've got a movie clip on a cloud and on this cow. So let's take a look at what a movie clip actually is. Here is the main timeline for this animation. I've got multiple layers, each one having different things on. For example, I've got a grass detail layer. If I hide it you can see what changes it makes. I've got a cow layer. I've got a layer for a cloud in the corner over here. I've got a background layer and I've got a sky layer. Now I'm going to show you what the cloud actually is. As you can see, there isn't a very long timeline here. In fact, it only lasts for one frame. But you saw the cloud moving across the screen. So how have I done that? Well, I've used a movie clip. If I double click on the cloud, you can see that the cloud up here, it says MC cloud, which means I'm in the movie clip cloud, has its own timeline. I should label that really. This cloud has its own timeline. When I go through the timeline, you can see the cloud actually moves across the screen. If I scroll to the end of the animation, it lasts for 315 frames. When it gets to the end of that frame, it'll then loop back to the beginning and play again. So that's a basic motion tween for that cloud. But I haven't told it to loop back automatically, it just does it on its own, which is very useful. Which is why you can have very big animations using very small amounts of animation. Let's take a look at the cow. The cow has two layers. I've got a layer for the cow and I've got a layer for the tail. I'm just going to hide the cow for the moment and focus on the tail. The tail also has a motion tween. The tail, as you move up the animation, scrolls slightly up, very slightly, and then goes back down to the bottom again. When it gets to the end, it then loops back and plays it from the beginning. The cow is normal until this frame where the eyes are closed. It then progresses and then closes the eyes again. One more, open and closed again, and then open for the remaining frames. When it gets to the end, it then loops back to the beginning and plays the animation again. So that happens for as long as I want it to happen for. If I want that to happen for, I don't know, 500 frames, it will play for 500 frames, but I've not had to animate it all the time, all the way down here. I've only had to animate it once for 32 frames, and it will keep looping until it gets to the end of the main timeline. So it's a very useful tool. So let's take a look at how that's being done. Here I've got the basic version. We're going to start on the cloud first, so I'm going to unlock the cloud layer and select it. I'm then going to right click on the cloud layer and say convert to symbol. Make sure movie clip is selected. Type in MC, little letters, then cloud. I always type in MC first because it's a good naming convention. Get in the habit of using MC for movie clips, BTN for buttons, and GRAs for graphics. Once you've typed in your MC cloud and you've made sure movie clip is selected, click on OK. I can then double click on the cloud and it gives me the cloud's timeline. I'm then going to rename the layer to cloud, and I'm then just going to use a basic motion tween on these frames. Now I'm only going to go up to frame 80 in this example, so I click on frame 80 and press F5. I right click anywhere on that timeline, click motion tween, and go to the last frame and press F6. I can then hold shift and the arrow keys and just scroll that cloud across until it gets to the other side. As you can see, it moves on its own now. Go back to scene 1, and it hasn't changed anything here, but if I run it, you can see I now got a cloud that goes across the screen. The cow isn't moving yet, so let's add some movie clips to this cow. So I'm going to unlock the cow layer. I'm then going to highlight the cow, right click him, convert to symbol. Remember about making sure it says movie clip. Change the name to MC for movie clip and call it cow. MC cow. Click OK. Double click on the cow. Now I'm going to make two layers. I'm going to have a cow layer and a tail layer. So this is going to be the tail, and this one's going to be the cow. I'm then just going to remove this tail from the cow. So I'm going to click on these lines. I'm holding Shift at the moment, and then I'm going to press Ctrl and X. I'm going to go to the tail layer, right click and say paste in place. I'm then going to just hide the cow layer for the moment, and I'm going to extend this tail out over here because we want the tail to appear behind the cow. Okay, I'm then going to click and drag on the tail and move it down below the actual cow, and that looks okay. I'm going to make this last for 20 frames, so I'm going to highlight both those frames and press F5. I'm then going to create a motion tween on this layer, so I'm going to go right click anywhere on the tail layer, create motion tween, go to the last frame and press F6. I'm then going to go into the middle and press F6 again. Now, I want this to move up, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the free transform tool and move this circle in the middle to where the tail is at its end. It probably helps if I put the tail layer back up the top. Basically what I'm doing is I'm moving the pivot point on all of those points. Oops. Okay, there we are. Moving the pivot point to all of those points, and then I'm going to just rotate that up. So now what we've got is a tail that goes up and down. I'm going to move the tail back below, and I'm now going to lock the tail layer and I'm going to focus on these eyes. Now on these eyes I want them to blink, and I'm going to get them to blink at frame 5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press F6 on frame 5 and then F6 again on frame 6, sorry. On frame 5 I want to change these eyes, so I'm going to delete the bits I don't want. I'm going to draw a circle from across here, a line across from here. Black arrow tool, bend those lines round, delete that bit there that I don't want, and then I'm going to colour it in. Now I'm going to use the paint fill colour, I'm going to use a darker colour. So I'm going to use, when you choose a paint fill colour, you'll automatically get like a little droplet tool. Just move it to the colour you want and it will select that colour in the fill tool, which is very useful. So I'm going to do that. I'm then going to do the same on frame, let's go for 12, F6 again, and I'm also going to do it on frame 14, F6, so he's going to do a double blink. I can then copy the contents of this frame, so if I click on it and go Control C, go over here, delete that contents, paste in place. Do the same thing for frame 14, delete, paste in place. I've then got exact copies of those frames and it will do a double blink. As you can see, blink, blink, blink. Okay, so that's our animation. Let's take a look. There we go, we've got a tail that's moving, and we've got the eyes that are blinking and the cloud that goes across. And that's it, that's the movie clip. You can use movie clips on anything you like. It's always a good idea to have a good bank of movie clips, especially for things like talking. You can have different animated movie clips for different mouth expressions and things like that. And if you make a movie clip, they appear in your library. And it's a case of just dragging them back on. So you can have multiple cows if I wanted to. I could have another cow over here in the background. And it'll do exactly the same thing as this cow. I can also have other clouds over here, and I can make that one a bit. In fact, if you wanted to, and it's a bit silly because the wind never works this way, but you could do something like this, where you go modify, transform, flip horizontal, and it should go in the opposite direction. There we go, two clouds moving in opposite directions, which you wouldn't normally see, but it's a useful tool. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. The next tutorial will look at using movie clips and motion tweens.